Yes.
And do you recall approximately when you went up to that cabin?
I believe,
relation?
yeah, I believe it was the next weekend.
Okay. And when you're talking about the next weekend, you were aware that Stephanie Lowe had gone missing, correct?
Yes.
All right. And so when you say the next weekend, you're talking about the next weekend after Stephanie Lowe went missing?
Correct.
All right. So it would have been the weekend of the 17th, 18th of October.
Right.
When you went up there, did you have a chance to take a look at that boat?
Yes.
And did something about it seem out of place to you?
Several things.
All right, let's start. What's the first thing that you noticed about it that seemed out of place or not quite right?
The tarp that was on it was covering part of it, but not all of it.
Okay.
The key to turn the ignition on was still in the boat, along with the battery, and the lock was not locked that attaches the hitch to the trailer.
Okay. So you're talking about the lock that locks the hitch so that somebody can't put it onto another vehicle?
Correct.
And pull it away?
Correct.
That lock was not locked?
Right.
All right. Anything else you noticed about it?
Well, yeah, because I was going to fix it and make it more weather tight for the winter.
All right.
So I rearranged the way it was tarped.
What did you do?
The tarp that was on there was too small to cover the boat.
Okay.
So I took that tarp and I covered the motor with it and tied it all up. And I had a larger tarp in the shed that was for a boat that we had. And I put that tarp over the bigger part of the boat so it wouldn't get full of leaves and debris and snow.
Okay. So the blue tarp that was on top of the boat when you got there, you put onto the motor.
On the motor,
Okay. And a different tarp went then onto the boat itself.
onto the body of the boat,
And where did that tarp come from?
inside my shed.
All right. So it was up there already when the boat got there, obviously.
Correct.
Did you notice whether or not the motor or the engine had been winterized by removal of all the gas? And
Oh, no, nothing was done to it. It was,
do you know if the boat had been stored at your cabin previously, or was this the first time it was going to be stored?
this was the first time.
Okay. Did you notice anything else while you were putting the new tarp onto the boat that drew your attention?
Yeah, there was a very large knife on the bench in the boat.
When you say the bench, where is the bench located?
On the side, like there would be where the steering wheel is, and it would be behind there, but a long bench where you can store like fishing poles and different things.
Okay. When you saw that knife, did it draw your attention in some way?
Yeah.
Why was that?
Well, because of the Stephanie missing and some of the things that people that I know were saying, it just kind of struck a chord that it might be something that might want to be saved.
Okay. And were you aware that the defendant knew Stephanie Lowe?
Yes.
What did you do then when you saw that knife and you thought it might be?
Well, I got some plastic bags and put them on my hands and picked the knife up and put it in another bag and wrapped it in aluminum foil and tried to protect it.
All right. May I approach your Honor?
May.
Ms. Wadinski, I'm showing you what has previously been marked as exhibit number 226. Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do.
And what do you remember about this item?
Well, I thought it was odd to have a kitchen knife inside of the boat, for one thing. And then when I looked at it,
Well, first off, is this the knife that you saw?
Oh, yes, that's it.
Okay, great. And then what, so you thought it was odd to have a kitchen knife, and what else drew your attention about it?
Well, it had some little brown marks on it, and I didn't know what they were.
All right. And so then you collected it the way you said you did.
Yes, and I kept it at my cabin.
What did you do with it after you got that knife from the boat?
I put it in my cabin on a shelf.
Okay. And then what did you do with it later, if anything?
Well, I saved it because I thought it might be something I didn't know. And then later on, I gave it to the police.
And do you remember who you turned it over to? If you don't, that's
I
fine.
think it was Mr. Buckner, but I'm not sure.
Okay. And had you seen that knife previously to that? I mean, in other words, you know where it came from? If you don't, that's fine.
That, I believe, is one of the knives in a set that Andrea got for her a wedding gift.
All right. When she was married to her husband.
When she was married, yes.
I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about a Jeep Cherokee. Did you own a Jeep Cherokee at one point in time?
Yes, I did.
And what kind of Jeep Cherokee was it, as far as, is there a particular model or anything?
Yes, it was Orvis edition, and it was forest green.
And did you own that earlier in 2010?
Yes,
Did you sell it at some point in time?
yes,
Who did you sell it to?
to Chris Torgerson.
And that's the defendant in this
Yes.
case? And approximately when did you sell it to him?
Had to have been earlier in the spring,
Okay. So sometime spring of 2010?
right?
All right. And when you sold it to him, were you aware if there were any problems with the floor in that Jeep?
No,
Now, did you, at some point in time, notice the defendant doing anything to clean that vehicle up?
yes.
When was that?
It was shortly after I got returned home from being at the cabin. I don't have an exact date.
Right. So, but still in October of 2010?
It was still in the fall there, within the month, 2 weeks.
Right. What did you see him doing?
He had the bottom pan of the truck out with the carpet and everything out on the ground and washing it.
How about the seats?
The back seat was gone.
Okay.
You
You know, what was he washing it with, if you know?
I'm not sure. It's carpet cleaner.
Okay. And what else?
He showed me where the bottom of the Jeep was cut out, and he was replacing the floor, the metal part.
All right. And so the part that the carpet, was it all of the carpet, the part beneath the back seat, what?
I believe it was the part that would have gone from like behind the front two seats to the back.
Okay. So not the carpet that was underneath the front seats.
I don't think so.
Okay. But just the part from behind the two front seats all the way to the back end of the Jeep?
Yeah.
All right. And that was all removed?
Well, not to the back end, but to where the seats were.
Okay, to the back of the back seat?
I don't know.
Okay. You're not sure. But the back seat itself was out.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yes.
And did you see if he was doing any cleaning on the seat?
No, but I didn't see that.
Okay, that's fine. Now, do you recall having some phone conversations with the defendant on January 18th, 2015?
I don't recall a particular one, but we've had several.
Okay. And if you hear a portion of it, would that refresh your memory about whether you had a phone call or not on that particular date?
Correct.
All right. Your Honor, I've had marked Exhibit 250, which is a disc that was provided to counsel in discovery, and it contains two phone calls between Ms. Wadinski and the defendant from January 18th of 25. I would move the admission of Exhibit 250 at this point in time.
No objection.
It is received.
Right. And what I'm going to do is I want to play a portion of the second of those two phone calls. I'm going to start with just the very beginning to see if Ms. Wadinski remembers it, and then I will jump to the portions that I wish to play. That's okay with the court and counsel. So can we switch to the computer?
This is a phone call from
Chris.
an inmate at the Wisconsin Secure Program Facility. All calls other than properly paid security calls may be monitored and recorded. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, thank you for using Century. Thank you. You may start the conversation.
So,
Yes.
you were saying, speaking about my letter.
Is that a phone call with you?
Yes.
I'm going to jump to approximately 8 minutes and 18 seconds into here.
Can we mute one of the TVs? I think it's playing through both. I am going to try. Turn the volume down. Yeah, that works. Okay, I can try it.
Well, I want you to know that you can still send stuff here, and I always do
Just
it.
a little too far. Sorry.
There's no question from a lot of things I've been through.
Well, I want you to know that you can still send.
Somewhere there. Did he make some comments to you as it relates to the incidents that occurred on, or what happened on October 10th, 2010 involving stuff the law?
I know we discussed it.
And did he make some comments about the death of Stephanie Lowe in that phone call? If you remember.
You know, I'm really.
Well, let's listen to this portion here and see if that refreshes your memory.
And what portion, counsel, do you intend to play?
This is from approximately 13 minutes and 33 seconds to 14 minutes and 5 seconds of the second phone call on January 18th, 2015.
Okay, there was a reference to 8 minutes and 18 seconds.
8 minutes and 8 seconds, and for some reason, that was not, I couldn't find that offhand quickly, so I'm not going to worry about that one. And then I'm also going to play from 14 minutes and 58 seconds to 15 minutes and 6 seconds. All right?
Well, you don't want to end up with what they're offering you. You want a different offer.
No, I'm not guilty of
You don't want to.
traumatized. And no way, in no part would I intentionally decided to rob her.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And not intentionally take her life.
I see.
And then I'm going to go to 14 minutes and 58 seconds. And before I start playing that, what you recall him saying, and I think what we've heard him say, is that he did not intentionally take Stephanie Lowe's bike.
Well, I think that the tape ought to speak for itself.
Sustained.
That's fine.
Actually, Judge, if I can, I'm sorry, I would like to withdraw that objection. And if there are more questions that counsel has in that regard as to what's on that tape as understood by Ms. Wadinski, you'll have no objection from me.
No, I would, that's fine, we can just let it.
The jury couldn't hear it, the other bill couldn't hear it.
Oh, okay, well, let's try it again, and can we just turn it up a little bit? Can we, maybe if we just turn that one down off and turn this one, and then if I can just, then I'll try to turn that one
I
off.
think
That
it's
one's off.
so sure doesn't get it coming from.
Yeah, it's coming through the speakers.
Oh, okay, it's coming through, all right, so let's just turn this one off as well then. That might help.
Is it going to be loud enough?
Well, let's try it out. Let's see, want to make sure everybody can hear. Okay, let's try it now.
I can't. No?
You get to see the boys?
No.
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 Oh, I'm sorry, I'm too fast. It's 14. 13.
Can't do it. How can I say this without incriminating myself?
Well, you don't want to end up with what they're offering you. You want a different offer.
No, I'm not pleading. I'm not guilty of
You don't want to.
homicide, and that nowhere in no part was I intentionally decided to rob her.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
I did not intentionally take her life.
I see.
And then let's go to 1458.
I'm not saying I'm blaming or I'm trying to justify what happened or whatever situation is accused.
Yeah.
Did those items, to your knowledge, and the clips that we played, did those, are those accurate as to what your phone conversation was with the defendant?
Yes.
You see the individual in court here today who you have identified as Kristopher Torgerson.
I would stipulate to identification.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions for Ms. Wadinski. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Judge, counsel indicated that since we've already started with the tape on this equipment, that I'd be able to utilize that equipment.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask to start, we're going to start, good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to start talking about this phone call you had with Mr. Torgerson, about which we've heard some audio, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Incidentally, if I were to tell you that was a phone call that happened on January 8th of 2015, does that sound about right when you were communicating with Mr. Torgerson?
Like I said, I don't remember exact dates.
Okay. Well, it was certainly after October 10th of 2010,
Yes.
and it was certainly after you went to the cabin a week later.
Yes.
Okay. Counsel started playing a part at 1333 of the, if we could, 1333 of the tape. If we could go to 1330,
Sure.
and then stop it at 1333. Tell me if you hear what Mr. Torgerson says at that time, okay?
Okay.
1330. Yep.
I didn't do it.
You can stop it, counsel. Thank you, sir. You recall that at that point in time, you were talking to Mr. Torgerson about what was going to happen in the case that we're here for today, right?
Correct.
If we could go to 1333 to 1350, please. And if you could listen carefully, because I want to see if you heard it right.
Because that's what it
That's
is.
what it was.
How can I say this without incriminating myself?
Well, you don't want to end up with what they're offering you? You want a different offer?
No, I'm not claiming, I'm not guilty of
You don't want to...
homicide.
If you could stop it there, sir. Did you hear, I'm not pleading, I'm not guilty of unintelligible degree homicide? Did you hear that?
No. Not on that tape, anyways.
Pardon me?
Not on this tape.
So if we could do 1350 to 1400, please. Thank you for your help.
And that nowhere in no part was I intentionally decided to rob her.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay, thank you. Did you hear that?
Yes.
What did he say?
He didn't intention to rob her.
If we could do 1400 to 1406, please.
I did not intentionally take her life.
Thank you.
I see.
You heard that.
Yes.
What?
He didn't intentionally take her life.
If we could do 406 to 414.
Can't get what she wants. She
Right. He's very immature.
Well, and I've learned that too over the years of knowing her and dealing with.
Well, let me stop you there. That was 1400 to what?
No, that was 406 to 414, which is what you said. You wanted
We
4...
stopped last at 1400, right?
we stopped last at 1406. Did you want it 1406?
Yeah, I'm just kind of going in
I'm
chronological order.
sorry.
14
You had said 14.
Well, we better stop now.
So, okay.
Yeah.
We'll get that.
Back at the 4-minute mark, you weren't talking about this homicide. You were talking about some relationship, some man named Daryl or something, right? Remember that?
No.
Okay. But the talk of this case was later on in the conversation, right?
More than likely, I don't remember.
Sure. Okay.
So 1406, what
Um,
you wanted, Counsel?
Yes, sir, please, for 1414.
Okay.
So those bars dropped.
All calls, other than properly paid attorney calls, may be monitored and recorded.
Okay.
That was 1414.
Thank you. Did you hear that?
What he said?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. If we could go to 1414 to 1454, sir?
If it drops to a manslaughter or a drop the robbery, then that
You
right.
have 1 minute left.
You know,
Okay. I get it then.
right.
All right.
You know, I want to see my kids. You know?
You get to see the boys?
No. No, I don't want to be right here the rest of my life and trying to reach out to my kids.
Your Honor, actually, I want to stop there because, and I want to approach and ask if, Your Honor, I didn't realize.
1458, please.
And I'm blaming or I'm trying to justify what happened or whatever situation is accused.
If we could stop it
Yeah.
and go back to, we missed the first part. If we could go to 1458 and following the balance. Yes,
It's,
sir.
it's not,
That would
So I'm not saying I'm blaming or I'm trying to justify what happened or whatever situation is accused.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You know,
Does that, you recall that assertion to you?
Now that I've heard it, I recall it.
So you had multiple phone calls with him, correct?
Correct.
Because you were trying to, I trust, still involve him in your granddaughter's life, right?
I thought that he would like to talk to her or know things about her.
The knife that you find in the boat, let's talk a little bit about that, okay?
Okay.
You testified today regarding that knife that it was from a set that your daughter received from as a wedding gift from her ex-husband, correct?
At their wedding from someone.
Right. Do you recall when you turned it over to Detective Buckner on March 8th, 2007, or March 8th, 2011, March 8th, 2011, I have that right? Yes. Do you remember telling Detective Buckner that you didn't recognize it as your knife, right?
Right, it was not mine.
And you didn't mention that it was from Andrea Wadinski's set.
I don't know. I might not have.
Well, here's what I'm asking. Did you later discuss with your daughter about that knife, its recovery?
objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Well, I'm not asking for the answer. I'm just asking if there was a discussion, so I don't think that's hearsay.
Okay, overruled as to whether there was a discussion.
Did you have a discussion with your daughter about the knife you recovered?
Yes.
When did that discussion occur? If you remember.
I don't remember.
Was it within a week of you finding it?
I don't think so.
Was it within a month, if you remember?
I don't remember.
Do you remember learning that the boat had some gas line difficulties at some point in time?
Yes.
Do you remember learning that the presence of the knife was to repair that?
Objection, Your Honor, foundation,
Sustained.
unless it's based on personal observation.
Did you ever observe the use of that knife with relating to camping or repair of the boat?
No.
Did you discuss with your daughter the use of that knife for anything of the sort? Camping or repair of the
Objection,
boat?
Your Honor. While he may not be asking for content, in essence, he's trying to elicit the content through the question. So I
Sustained.
When you talked with Detective Buckner about the recovery of the knife, do you remember discussing with him whether Andrea Wadinski, your daughter, accompanied Torgerson to your cabin on the morning of October 10, 2010?
Objection, Your Honor. Again, foundation on that, unless she was along, any knowledge she may or may not have about that would be hearsay.
Sustained.
Did you tell Detective Buckner affirmatively that your daughter did not accompany Torgerson to the cabin?
Objection, foundation, it would be hearsay unless they establish that she has firsthand knowledge of that.
Sustained.
Did you have firsthand knowledge whether Andrea Wadinski accompanied Torgerson to the cabin on Sunday, October 10, 2010? When you spoke with him on March 8, 2011?
I think so. Yeah, I probably did. I don't remember the dates of me talking to anybody.
When you talked the very first time with law enforcement, that was the day of the knife tender, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay. Did you ever discuss with Lieutenant Buckner or Detective Buckner about your daughter going to the cabin?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. And again, and I think the witness may not understand what firsthand knowledge is. That's her actual observations as opposed to what somebody told her.
But why don't I try this question, okay? And this will end it.
Okay.
Did you tell Detective Buckner, did you make a statement to Detective Buckner, my daughter did not go to the cabin with Torgerson?
Objection, Your Honor, again, foundation.
Sustained.
Did you tell your daughter that you made the report of the recovery and tender to the knife to the police? Did you tell your daughter that?
Yes.
Did you tell her shortly after you did that?
After I gave the knife to the police?
Correct.
Yes.
After turning over the knife in what we believe to be March 2011, over the course of the next at least a year, you consented to searches of your cabin area by police, correct?
Yes.
Did you advise, and would those searches have occurred in, you think, 2011 and or 2012? Or don't you remember?
I know 2012.
And was your daughter made aware of those searches? Did you tell her the police are searching the cabin?
I probably did. I don't remember.
Did you discuss the investigation of the Stephanie Lowe homicide with your daughter at various times since you turned over the knife?
Yes.
And did you eventually learn that your daughter was a target of that investigation?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
At any point in time, did you learn that your daughter had lied to you about her role in the Stephanie Lowe disappearance?
She did not lie to me.
Did you ever learn that she withheld information from you in the Stephanie Lowe disappearance?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Did your daughter ever tell you that she accompanied Torgerson to the cabin?
Yes.
When?
When did she tell me?
That was my question.
She asked me if it was okay for them to take the boat up there on the morning of the 11th and drop it off, if that was an okay time. And I said yes.
So you assumed she was going?
Well, not necessarily, because she had the baby and the kids.
Did you talk to her about other aspects of the investigation other than the boat trip? before, let's say, mid-February 2013?
That I don't know.
But she never lied to you, that's your testimony.
No, she never lied to me.
And she never withheld any information from you.
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered, and actually not asked, previously objected to and sustained.
He's right, I'll move on, I'm sorry. You pretty close to your daughter?
Very.
Talk to you about that Jeep in 2010 that you sold to Mr. Torgerson. Were you aware of the condition of the undercarriage when you sold it?
That was my vehicle until then. I drove it.
Were you aware of the condition of the undercarriage?
Yes. Oh, no. Well, no. Not the undercarriage.
So you don't know if there was rust under it?
I don't assume there was because it wasn't spongy.
In February of 2013, did you begin to accompany your daughter on a series of interviews with law enforcement?
On February of 2013. I had accompanied her to some dates I can't tell you.
Why did you accompany her?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Were you concerned that your daughter would be criminally charged and you wanted to
Objection,
support?
relevance.
If I could just finish the question, counsel. To allow the court to make its ruling. Were you concerned when you accompanied her that she would be charged criminally and you were there to support her?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
If I could just look at my notes.
Sure. Go ahead.
You're aware that Miss Lowe was disappeared on October 10, 2010, correct?
Correct.
And then as I understand your testimony, ma'am, you went to your cabin in Wabeno the following weekend, October 17th to the 18th, correct?
Yes.
And did I hear your testimony correctly that within that week period of time, people were saying things which later on made you think the knife you found would be significant? Is that what I heard you say?
Correct.
People in the community? Friends?
Right.
I have nothing further of this witness.
Any redirect?
Just briefly, when you were asked about before and the duration of the Jeep and if there were any issues with it, can you explain why you didn't believe there were any issues with it?
Well, because I didn't notice anything wrong with it. It was perfectly sturdy.
And that was when, at the time you sold it to the defendant sometime in the spring of 2010?
Correct.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Was there rust on the side of the vehicle? Did you see any?
You know, I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
I have nothing further this witness.
Okay, thank you.
Ben?
You should remember this, Gina?
Yes, Your Honor, we'd ask that you be released.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Here you go, thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we take a 10-minute break here?
You're back.
seated. Let's just do some housekeeping tasks. Let's call the case. State of Wisconsin versus Kristopher Torgerson, 14 CF 860. Appearances.
State appears by Assistant Attorney General Richard Dufour and Deborah Ayala, Your Honor.
The defendant appears with, Kristopher Torgerson appears with his lawyer, Thomas Wilson.
And this is a Saturday session, and I checked the doors this morning. The doors on the west side of the courthouse are open, so the public can enter. There was a sidebar conducted this morning regarding the tape that was being played, the part that started referring to penalties, the amount of time that he'd be in prison. And that was objected to, and I sustained that objection as the fact that the penalties imposed are something to be decided by the court and not by the jury, so it's not relevant.
And, Your Honor, for the record, I had initially asked that it be stricken, but on further review, because of the fact that I believe it would just unduly re-emphasize it to the jury for the court to say, you're to disregard the comment he made about the fact that he doesn't deserve life in prison. I just felt that would unduly re-emphasize it to the jury, even though they would be told to disregard it, so I'm not asking that it specifically be stricken at this point.
That's correct. Mr. Wilmoth, do you want to add anything else?
I do. It wasn't introduced to indicate to the jury the penalty. It was introduced to give context to the balance of the tape. Things like if it drops to a manslaughter or drop the robbery, then that life. I think it goes to lack of consciousness of guilt, and that was the purpose of its playing. I understand the court's ruling, and with the cautionary instruction, if you'd like, I have no objection to that.
Okay, I'm not sure any instructions have been requested. I understand that there were different elements to it, but the one I'm most concerned with was related to penalties. For that reason, it will be sustained. Anything else we need to put on the record?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay, you've got two more witnesses.
Yes.
Okay.